Welcome everyone to this presentation on games and game analysis. This is the seventh week of our TA learning. You have learned about ego states, you have learned about transactions, you have learned about strokes, time structuring, and passivity theory. So, one of the most important topics under passivity theory is games and game analysis. The word games is very familiar to you. But what does it mean in TA? What is game analysis in TA? We'll go into the details today. So before we go on to game, we are just recapitulating what is passivity theory. You have learned this already. When human beings do not use all their resources in front of problems, or they discount their abilities or their colleagues' abilities or the situation's abilities, there is a difficulty in resolving problems. So, this is the essence of passivity theory. So, being passive in situations. And let's see how games is connected here. The games theory in transactional analysis is different from some other games theory that you may have heard. This theory says that human beings engage in unaware activity, complex activities, which are called games. And today we are going to learn about the details of what the definition of the game is, what a game is composed of, and how it can be analyzed to bring that into our awareness. Let's understand what a game is. There are physical games and psychological games. So, what are the characteristics of physical games? They are repeatedly played. More than one person is involved in most of the games. Games are usually played for a prize. There are rules for every game. The games are usually planned, but the planning is well within our awareness. And also, the games are named after the materials we use in the physical games. On the other hand, what is psychological game? A psychological game is also repeatedly played. There are more than one person involved in psychological games. Psychological games are also paid for a payoff. The prize is called the payoff in psychological game. There are rules in psychological games also which we may not be obviously aware of. Psychological games are also planned but not with awareness. That is the difference. And psychological games are named after the words used. So, this is Eric Burns' style of naming games. So, as you learn more about some of these games, you will understand this in detail. Eric Berne has given an early definition for game, that is when he mooted the idea of games as he was developing the theory of transactional analysis. He says it is a series of ulterior transactions ending in a prefixed payoff. You have learned what ulterior transactions are. So, it is a series of ulterior transactions. That means the conversation is ulterior, is not within our awareness till something happens. And ultimately, the players or the people involved in this transaction get what they have been wanting for. That is what it means to say a prefixed payoff. But Berne, as he learned about game more detail, he refined his definition. The present definition says it is a series of ulterior transactions with a switch and a cross up ending in a prefix payoff. So, this what happens in between has been clearly defined. So, in that sense, game has been defined through a formula. So, there are specific components and steps in game. So, game involves a con, a gimmick, which leads to responses, and then there is a switch, cross up, and payoff. So this sounds very simple. We'll learn what each one of this means by looking at some examples. The best example to look at is the games we see in nature. Fishing or angling is a typical game to understand this concept. Let's look at the formula in a broken up fashion. The con in the game of angling is the hook. The gimmick is the bait. Responses are the fish trying to take the bait and we making small pulls. Switch is when the line is pulled from water, and cross up is the confusion. What happened? The payoff is fish gets caught and killed, angler gets the fish. So, what are the transactions in this process? If you look at it like a transaction, the angler is kind of telling the fish, I will feed you. But unaware, psychologically, it is also, I know food is your weakness, I will catch you. So, here the con or the confidence trickster is the hook with the angler. The gimmick is the fish's weakness to food. So, then what happens? Fish is kind of saying, I need food. Or unawarely, it is like, I'll become food for smarter ones. And the angler is throwing it. Here is it. You have fallen for it. Oh, fish, oh, I got it. But actually, the fish is getting caught. The angler pulls up the line, the position is switched. The angler who appeared like a rescuer to the fish, trying to feed the fish, became a persecutor. I got you. I am smarter than you. So, these are the possible transactions in a natural game of angling. So, Stephen Carman said that we can understand these transactions using a triangle which he developed called the drama triangle. So, the theory is life is like a drama, we just keep shifting the roles. So, if you look at the fish has always been a victim, initially trying to be rescued by the angler, but the angler had no idea of rescuing the fish. That is why this line is shown as dotted lines. Psychologically, we know he is going to be the persecutor and pull the switch. So, after doing an initial few transactions here, he pulls the switch and he becomes the persecutor, and the fish continues to be the victim. So, in life also, you can see something similar. We can look at human games to understand this. Human beings play complementary games. An typical example is somebody playing why don't you and somebody else playing yes but. So, like I told you earlier, psychological games are named with the words we use. So, here it is why don't you is the game played by one person, and yes but is the game played by another person. Let's see how it is. The situation is like all helping professionals more eager to help, and someone is asking help. So the why don't you comes from the helping professional, and the yes but comes from the person asking help. Let's look at an example. A client comes and a problem is presented. I want to stop smoking. Psychologically, he actually wants to prove it is impossible to stop smoking. This helper, without realizing that, comes up with propositions. Why don't you chew Eliachi instead? So, internally, this helper, what is he doing psychologically? He thinks, I can't help these fellows who simply ask for help, but he is trying out. The client hears that and says, yeah, it is good, I have heard, but Eliachi is very costly. So, here you can see this yes and the but, and psychologically it is showing up the impossibility of changing his habits. Helper doesn't realize it. He continues to put, why don't you use tablets available? Again, trying out. Client again, yes, but I've heard people say it may become another habit. Again, showing up the impossibility of change in him. Helper again comes with suggestion, repeating the show. After some time, this goes on, and then the helper is kind of frustrated. So he or she will ask, if you don't want to take my advices, why did you come to me? See, here you can see from the rescuer he became persecutor. This is switch. And then see what happens. The client would most likely say, I knew earlier itself that you don't have any effective methods to stop my smoking. So suddenly he became a victim, from victim to persecutor. The person who was trying to help him stop the smoking feels failed. So that is the confusion and the payoff. The client proves that he believed it is impossible to stop smoking. He proves it. And the helper, who was unawarely trying to help him, becomes confused. Why am I not able to help these people? So this kind of conversation happen in not only between helping professionals, it happens between teachers and students, it sometimes happens between parents and their children, it sometimes happens between colleagues. So these are called game transactions. Here the person who seeks help, when he comes to ask for help, is unaware that he believes it is impossible. The person who is helping also is not aware that deep inside he believes he cannot help, but he is only trying out. These kind of transactions are called game transactions. There are many other kinds of exchanges, but this is one typical example. Just a triangle to show how the roles change. Here you can see the person who seeks the help was a victim. Somebody was he seeked help, and this person was trying to rescue by giving a lot of advices. And suddenly, this advisor, the rescuer, turned to a persecutor and said, why are you not taking my advice? And then what happens? The victim turns a persecutor, and this rescuer becomes the victim. So this is how role changes happen in our everyday life when there are unaware transactions. Now I am inviting you to do this exercise. Reflect on any of your experiences of similar nature where you ended up feeling bad, where you enthusiastically tried to do something but the other person didn't comply or things didn't happen the way you want. So reflect on any of your experiences. Attempt to identify the conversations in that process. What was the con, the gimmick, who switched, and how the cross up and payoff happened. Or you can also do something. You can attempt to break them down into social and ulterior transactions. Like I showed earlier. Here I can show you that again. Here you can see these are all the social transactions and these are all the ulterior transactions. So like that, try to break up your transactions in whatever unpleasant experience you had. Or you can even attempt to identify the roles played and how the roles changed. Do any one of this and write it down and submit it as assignment if you would like to, or make a note of it. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Thank you. See you next week.